Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel Global Times USA. Subscribe and like my videos, because today we are going to take a closer look at one of the most shocking and devastating events making global headlines. Russia has launched a massive missile and drone strike on Ukraine, leaving at least 3 people killed and dozens injured. This is not just a simple headline, but a layered story that deserves to be reviewed in detail, almost like examining a complex machine from its exterior to its interior, from how it performs to how safe or unsafe it is, and what really makes it stand out in the history of this war. When we talk about such a violent strike, we can analyze it the way we would review a new product or vehicle, breaking it down into categories that help us understand both the impact and the message it sends to the world. On the exterior level, this strike looks like another chapter in the long-running war between Russia and Ukraine, but the scale and timing show much more. Russia unleashed a coordinated wave of missiles and drones across multiple Ukrainian cities, targeting infrastructure, power supplies, and residential areas. The exterior picture is grim: night skies lit up by explosions, smoke rising above neighborhoods, and emergency services rushing to the scene. The exterior view tells us about the visual reality: buildings damaged, shattered windows, burned out cars, and the terrified faces of civilians trying to make sense of the destruction. From the outside, it appears like sheer force designed not only to cause physical harm, but also to send a political signal. Exterior impressions remind us that this is not just about military targets. It is about intimidating a population and demonstrating reach, showing that no city in Ukraine feels completely safe when such barrages are launched. Now, when we go to the interior, the picture becomes much more personal, deeper, and emotional. Inside the affected areas, families were suddenly awakened in the middle of the night by sirens and explosions. People describe the fear of rushing into basements or underground shelters, clutching their children, listening to the roar of missiles overhead. Hospitals suddenly faced an influx of injured men, women, and children, doctors working around the clock to stabilize victims. Inside residential homes, you can imagine the trembling walls, the glass shattering into rooms, the fires breaking out in kitchens and living areas. The interior is not just about buildings. It is about human lives, about the psychological interior of a nation living under constant threat. When we analyze this interior dimension, we also see resilience. People comfort each other, emergency responders risk their lives to save others, and the Ukrainian spirit of survival becomes part of the inside story. For those living through it, the interior is a mix of fear, pain, anger, and determination. It is a reminder that war is never just statistics of missiles fired or casualties reported. It is about how ordinary human beings endure extraordinary suffering and yet continue to hope. When we shift to performance, Russia's strike was described as one of the largest in recent months. Dozens of missiles and drones were launched almost simultaneously, testing Ukraine's air defense systems. Some of the drones and missiles were intercepted, showing that Ukraine's defensive performance is improving thanks to Western supplied technology like Patriot systems and NASAMS. However, performance is also measured by what got through, and unfortunately, several warheads did hit their targets, causing destruction and death. Russia's performance in this operation reflects its strategy of overwhelming defenses by sheer numbers, using a mix of cheap drones and expensive cruise missiles to saturate the skies. Ukraine's performance, on the other hand, shows both strengths and limits, intercepting many but not all, saving countless lives but unable to prevent every tragedy. From a performance perspective, this strike shows how modern warfare is a battle not just of armies but of technology, logistics, and endurance. Safety features in this context might sound ironic, but they are very real. Ukraine has invested heavily in early warning systems and air raid sirens, which gave people precious minutes to seek shelter. Safety features also include the shelters themselves, both old Soviet-era bunkers and newly reinforced basements in apartment blocks. These features save lives every day, but they are not foolproof. Not everyone has access to safe underground spaces, and in many rural or smaller cities, civilians remain exposed. For medical teams, safety features mean quick evacuation plans, emergency medical kits, and mobile hospitals that can be deployed rapidly. On the other hand, the lack of universal protection is a glaring safety issue. The civilians of Ukraine are essentially the passengers of a system where safety features are never enough against overwhelming firepower. Yet the very existence of any protective systems at all highlights the determination of the Ukrainian government and international allies to keep people alive in impossible conditions. Now, when we think of unique selling points, this is where the nature of the strike becomes most distinct. Russia's unique selling point in this attack was scale and coordination. It wanted to demonstrate to both Ukraine and the wider world that it can still launch massive strikes despite Western sanctions and battlefield setbacks. The use of both drones and missiles in large numbers sends a message about Russia's production and procurement capabilities. For Ukraine, the unique selling point is resilience, the ability to withstand such strikes and continue fighting, repairing infrastructure within days, and maintaining civilian morale despite terror. In a tragic sense, the unique selling point of this war has become the daily resilience of Ukrainian citizens who refuse to be broken by repeated attacks. These qualities are what capture international sympathy and keep aid flowing from Western countries. If we were to put a price on this strike, it would be astronomical. Each cruise missile costs millions of dollars. Drones, though cheaper, still carry significant costs, and when dozens are launched together, the total bill could run into hundreds of millions. But the human price is beyond calculation. 3 lives lost may sound like a number, but behind each figure is a family, a circle of friends, and a piece of Ukraine's future stolen forever. Dozens injured means surgeries, long-term trauma, and lives permanently altered. The price also includes destroyed homes, ruined businesses, power outages, and the emotional toll on millions who live in constant fear. For Russia, the financial price is steep, but the Kremlin considers it worth paying for the political goal of destabilizing Ukraine. For Ukraine, the price is measured in resilience and sacrifice, holding on despite repeated blows. In conclusion, this massive strike is not just another news story. It is a reminder of the fragility of peace and the ongoing suffering caused by this war. Looking at it from the exterior, we see the visible destruction. Looking at the interior, we feel the human cost. Considering performance, we measure the effectiveness of both Russia's offense and Ukraine's defense. When we evaluate safety features, we understand how people survive in the face of overwhelming danger. In thinking about unique selling points, we see how Russia demonstrates power while Ukraine demonstrates resilience. The price is staggering in both economic and human terms, and the conclusion is that this war shows no signs of ending soon, and the international community must continue to pay attention, to support, and to push for solutions. This review of the strike is like reviewing a deadly product, a weapon system unleashed on innocent lives. But unlike consumer goods, there is nothing appealing here, only lessons about endurance, resistance, and the urgent need for peace. So remember to subscribe and like, because Global Times USA will continue to bring you in-depth analysis of the most important global events shaping our world today.